Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Chudowski. We have breaking news. The writing was on the wall. Stefanski is out as the Browns head coach after 6 seasons. We have been on coach watch since early this morning, getting this video of him entering the Berea headquarters just before 8 this morning. An hour later, the news broke. Right now, we are waiting for Browns owner Jimmy Haslam to talk live in Berea. Chris Renkel is in Berea right now live and has more. And Chris, here we go again.
Dave, you almost forgot what it was like, right? 6 years seems like an eternity for a Browns head coach, especially with, you think, everything that went before him with Hugh Jackson and all the others that got 1 or 2 years. But yeah, Kevin Stefanski, 6 seasons. We'd seen the ups, we'd seen the downs, and I'll tell you, this last week kind of felt like everyone knew where this was going, kind of had a finality to it. And being in Cincinnati yesterday, hearing the celebration in the locker room, hearing the players talk about their head coach, I think it was a fitting ending for Kevin Stefanski, and I think everybody knew that maybe the parting of ways was coming. But what a way to go out for a head coach. You can't say this very often of Browns head coaches since '99, but he went out a winner. 2 straight wins, and this is a team that could have rolled over. They could have died. This season was pretty much over. Yet they beat the Steelers at home, then they go on the road. They beat the Bengals on a last-second field goal. It was an incredible moment for this team. The celebration, you could hear it in the press conference room, through the locker room, through the brick walls at Paycor Stadium. But yeah, Kevin Stefanski is out. Like I said, there were some ups. He took them to the playoffs twice. There were plenty of downs. 8 wins in the last 2 seasons, not going to get it done. But Dave, as you well know, Stefanski, well thought of in the NFL, he will not be out of a job very long. He is still here at the facility right now. So at some point, he's probably going to leave here, call his agent, and I'm sure there's going to be interviews lined up next week. So here we go again, Dave.
Yeah, no question about it. He did make it to today. A lot of Browns coaches in the past, they got axed on Sunday. He makes it to Monday morning. 26 losses in the last 2 years, 3-14, 5-12. Clearly not good enough, Chris. What's interesting, though, Andrew Berry stays.
Yeah, Andrew Berry stays, and not just that. According to multiple national reporters, Andrew Berry's going to have a hand in choosing the next head coach. You kind of figured, because for years we heard that Berry and Stefanski, they're thought partners, they're in lockstep. And yet here, when you decide it's not good enough, it's only one guy getting the axe. Now, Berry did, to his credit, knock the last draft out of the park. Multiple rookies that show a lot of promise, a couple Pro Bowl alternates there. I think the trade Greg Newsome for Tyson Campbell, I think that was a really good deal. And he's shown a good way of being able to manipulate the cap, which I think the Browns are going to really need over the next few seasons, trying to get out from under that Deshaun Watson deal. So it's going to be interesting to see, because Berry, you have to imagine, is now on the hot seat. So if he's hiring a head coach with the GM on the hot seat, does that mean this is a lame duck head coach and maybe the next head coach is going to be gone in a year? We just don't know at this point. It's going to be very interesting to see where they go from here and how much power Andrew Berry is going to have in truly choosing this next head coach.
So as we look to the new head coach, you know there will be a lot of questions coming up here in just minutes for Haslam about who that new head coach will be. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will ask you, are there names floating out there right now? Will they go internally? Will they look outside? Who's going to be the next guy?
Well, there have been plenty of reports that maybe they've kicked the tires on a few coaches. You never really know. As you well know, at this time of year, it's agent season. So agents are making calls and leaking names, trying to get their guys paid, trying to get new jobs. But if they go internally, Jim Schwartz is sitting there. I know a lot of defensive players want him. They love playing for him. He's already been an established NFL head coach. You want to go younger, offense coordinator Tommy Rees is one of those rising stars in the coaching ranks. He will be a head coach at some point, whether that's college or in the NFL. Maybe he could be a guy internally, or you go completely outside the organization. But what's going to be interesting is when you have those coordinators in place, like a Jim Schwartz, everyone talks about fans want rid of Kevin Stefanski, but they want to keep the defensive coordinator. Well, a new head coach is going to want his own coaching staff and might decide that Schwartz isn't his coordinator. So there's going to be a lot of decisions here made on the assistants and which direction they go into, because Stefanski was an offensive head coach. Usually you think you fire the offensive guy, you bring in a defensive guy, but defense isn't the problem for this team. They need an offensive-minded head coach once again. So anything and everything is up in the air. As Jason Lloyd told me when we talked at Paycor Stadium after the game, he said, with the Haslams, it's a moment-to-moment thing. You just never truly know what's going to happen.
Well, all right, Chris, this certainly is no surprise, I don't think, right? But it does impact the fans and the players, certainly. We have some sound here that we're going to listen to. The players had his back.
I love Kevin Stefanski. I love that man. I'll fight for that man any day of the week. One of my all-time favorite coaches, if not my favorite coach of all time. There's no other coach I'd rather play for. Like, I love Kevin. And it's easy to just put the blame on Kev, but man, like I'll tell you this, I love Kev and I love everything he stands for. I love him as a coach, and literally, like, great guy, great coach, like one of my favorites.
Yeah, that speaks volumes. I mean, you saw how they played the last two games, winning for Stefanski. Not a lot of people getting a lot of sleep here, including yourself. You were traveling with the Browns and up late last night, but you've been around the team. What was the sense that you got? I'm sure you're not surprised, but did you feel like this was just the writing was on the wall, like we said at the beginning?
Yeah, you kind of got the feeling. I think a lot of the players maybe were trying to stump for their head coach over the week. Joe Bitonio came out with a big endorsement. You heard Shelby Harris there after the game. He was very introspective, loves Kevin Stefanski. Shedeur Sanders said a lot of good things about how much Stefanski has helped him. And we don't really get those personal relationships because Kevin, I think the biggest knock that fans had with him was how robotic he was in press conferences. But that's just who he is. We now go live inside the facilities. Jimmy Haslam stepping to the podium to talk.
Particularly with people at the top of an organization are always difficult. And I can tell you, having made a lot of these over the years, that this was as difficult as any we've ever had to make because of the quality of the person involved. Organized, worked hard, navigated our ship for 6 years through the inevitable ups and downs that we face in the NFL. Outstanding father and husband. And I think even you all who are around a lot probably underappreciate how much time we all spend together. And there's nothing more fun than winning an NFL game like we did the last 2 weeks, beating our arch rival, the Steelers, 2 weeks ago, and then winning yesterday on the last play of the game and seeing the joy in the locker room. And there's nothing more distasteful than losing an NFL game. And it's finite. You either win or you lose. And Kevin did a lot of good things here over his time period with us. It was an extremely difficult decision we made. And I shouldn't say I have no doubt, I would be highly optimistic that Kevin will be a head coach again in the league. Now I want to turn our attention and talk to our fans, okay? And I want you to hear this, okay? First of all, ownership takes full responsibility for where we are. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible. It's totally unacceptable, okay? And it's not going to continue, okay? And I want the fans to know we are as frustrated as you are, and we hear a lot from our fans, which we actually appreciate. We have great fans, they're extremely passionate, and they deserve better than what they've gotten the last 2 years, okay? No, I don't need to say anything else. We are going to give you a better product. Our sole goal here is to be a consistent winner, not make the playoffs in 20 and then make it again in 23, not win 8 games in 2 years. That's not what we're trying to do. That's not acceptable. Our fans deserve better. We'll start the head coach search literally this afternoon. Andrew Berry will lead that effort. Key members of his organization as well as ownership will be involved in the process. You all have been through these processes before, and I think we have a good plan laid out. I want to comment on Andrew because I know there's questions out there, well, why didn't you change both of them? Or why didn't you change Andrew and not Kevin? And I would say this, I think Andrew, over the last year, has done a very good job. And I want to go through that because I think it's important to talk about the moves he made to strengthen our team, okay? I think it began with what I would call a very efficient free agency. We added one player, and that player made a substantial difference in our football team, and that was Malik Collins. And Malik is not only a really good player, he's a really good person who is a leader on our defense, a leader in the defensive line room. Andrew negotiated a trade a week or two before the draft started, in which we added 3 draft picks, 2 last year, a second and a fourth or a fifth, and a first this year, okay? Then I think we had one of the better drafts that we've ever had. I think we added 4 really good football players who were either first team all-rookie or second team all-rookie, and I think Carson has a really good chance to be the NFL Rookie of the Year, defensive Rookie of the Year. I think what's important to understand about our rookies, though, and you all see them, you all know them, they're not only really good players, they're really good people. And they will be the cornerstone with which we'll build and grow and develop this winning team. But I think it would be short-sighted to not just look at free agency, not just look at the draft, but also to look at a couple of other moves Andrew made. We have struggled to have a consistent place kicker here really the whole time we've earned the team. And I guess the way we started this year, you'd say, well, looks like you're continuing to struggle. Our grandsons were at the game, and we were coming back to Cleveland last night, and I said, Andre Schmidt is a great lesson of when you fail, pick yourself up, persevere, and good things will happen. And the signing of Andre and bringing him on, holding with him that first week when everybody was saying you need to cut him, you need a new kicker, I think we've hopefully solved our place kicking woes for a long time. Quality person, the team believes in him, and we're glad to have him. And then lastly, I think something that's underappreciated was the Tyson Campbell trade. Tyson is, here again, a really good player and a really good person. And I think all you need to know about Tyson is he has been playing with a bad shoulder for several weeks. We were unsure if he's going to be able to play, got hurt in the first half. He went in, got treatment, came back and tried to play in the second half of a game where we were trying to win our 5th game. It wasn't like we were trying to make the playoffs. I think this year we not only added, and I'm repeating myself on purpose, really good players, but also really good people. And I think that core that Andrew has put together this year will help move us forward. We hope to have similar results this coming year.
We'll take a couple questions.
Yeah, let me just say this, one thing, Peter. The next 120 days are crucial for the organization, okay? We've got to find the right head coach. We've got to be efficient again in free agency. We have 10 draft picks, including 2 number 1s. We have 4 picks in the top 3 rounds, okay? And we've got to get really good players who are really good people again. We've got to be opportunistic if trade opportunities come along. We are solely focused on having a great 120 days so we can start winning games around here. All right, I'll take questions.
Jimmy, did Kevin have any chance when he came in this morning to save his job based on the fact that he's had some really challenging quarterback situations, especially this year?
You know, I don't think those decisions are made over, I think those decisions tend to be made over a period of time, and I'll leave the conversations we had with Kevin between us because I think he deserves that respect.
Jimmy, will Jim Schwartz be a candidate for the head coach?
You know, we haven't looked at that yet. I would say this, we think a lot of Jim Schwartz.
Jimmy, less than 6 months ago, you gave Kevin Stefanski and Andrew very big shows of support. You said that you need to rebuild the foundation of the team, and you also said that you would give Kevin the opportunity to work with a quarterback. Obviously, 5 wins might not, in your eyes, wasn't good enough. But what was the breaking point, especially given your comments just 6 months ago?
I don't think there was one breaking point. I think you got to look at the body of work, and sometimes it's just time for a change, and we felt like it was time for a change.
Did you think the roster was good enough to win more games this year?
You know, it's easy for me to say yes. So, yeah, I think it was good enough to win more games.
What feedback did you get from players when you talked to them about Kevin, and how much did you weigh that into any decision?
We take into account a broad array of comments, thoughts, data, et cetera, when making a decision like this.
Jimmy, how much do you think, to use you were to swing and miss on Deshaun Watson, affected Kevin's ability to win, and the way the offensive line and wide receivers were sort of neglected over the last 6 years?
I don't think we need to cover it again. I mean, I said it, when you trade for a player and you give up 3 number 1s and 2 number 3s, that really depletes your ability to raise the roster. So did it have impact? Yes.
Jimmy, do you think the alignment between Barry and Stefanski suffered this year?
No,
The coach said he didn't know you were trading Joe Flacco. How does that happen?
Let me say this, and some of you said this is a dysfunctional building. I take huge exception to that. The two of them work just like this, okay? And they talk all the time. Their offices are basically next door to each other. I mean, is there tension in the building? Of course. I mean, this is a hard business, and there's lots of stuff going on. But the two of them work together extremely well, extremely well.
Why would the head coach be surprised that it started?
I can't comment on that one thing, Tony, but if anybody says this is dysfunctional or those two of them did not work well, that's dead wrong.
Do you feel like this organization is close enough that next year you'll be able to turn it around, or how far out?
Well, let's see what happens over the next 120 days, okay? There are a lot of examples of teams going from last to first in the NFL. So do I think we have the core of a team? Yes. Do we have work to do in rebuilding the roster? Absolutely.
Jimmy, do you feel Shedeur is the quarterback of the future?
You know, I'm not going to get into specifics. We have a lot of work to do on the roster, particularly on the offensive side of the roster.
What are you looking for? Scott, and then Mary Kay.
What are you looking for in the next coach?
I think it's a really good question. The leadership required out of a head coach in the NFL, it's one of the tougher leadership jobs I've ever seen, so they've got to be a good leader. I think they've got to be smart in terms of IQ, EQ, and football acumen. And obviously, they're going to bring expertise on one side of the ball. We do not have bias on whether they should be from the offense or the defense.
Good?
Good, thanks.
Do you want Schwartz to remain with the organization?
Absolutely. Great coach. All right, thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
I was going to ask about Shedeur, but I think, Chris, did you ask about Shedeur?
All right, that was Jimmy Haslam, Browns owner, talking about the decision to let go of Kevin Stefanski as head coach of the Browns after 6 seasons. And you heard it there. He wants a leader, which I think goes for what a lot of what was lacking this year. Kevin Stefanski, he's a good coach. He got the guys to rally. But this was a pretty undisciplined football team. We've seen that over the last few years. No preference on which side of the ball they're going to go for. That could be another offensive-minded coach. It could be a defensive-minded coach. And the process is going to begin. And you could hear it in his voice how frustrated he is with the losing. But then you also could hear how much respect he has for Kevin Stefanski, and I think we saw that with the fact that Stefanski was allowed to make a statement with his dismissal. I think at the end of the day, this was probably a needed split between the two. After 6 years as a head coach, you kind of get the same voice over and over again. Maybe time for a fresh start for the Browns and a fresh start for Kevin Stefanski. Like we said at the beginning of all this, he's going to be a very hot coaching candidate going forward now that Black Monday has once again struck here in Berea. Dave?
Yeah, Chris, that was the first thing you hit right at the top there after he was done was the leadership. And that's what we've been hearing with Stefanski is basically that was the knock against him. So they're going to look for a leader in a tough business, no question. That was a pretty an emotional Haslam, right? We've heard him talk. We don't hear from him a ton, but when we do, that was pretty emotional guy there.
Yeah, and that's what you talk about all the losing and all the frustration of the fans. I think that owners, not that I'm going to defend billionaires here to get that straight, but they feel it just as much as we do. And I think the Haslams, for all the knocks against them, they've poured a lot of time, money, resources, and emotion into this team. And when it loses, it's got to hurt. I've seen Jimmy after games walking into the locker room, walking through the halls. He doesn't look happy after losses. He looks very frustrated. He looks very angry that this team just can't seem to figure it out. And I guess we'll have to see if the next guy can figure it out because it's not going to be Kevin Stefanski. And I do want to say one more thing about this is his defense of Andrew Berry I thought was very interesting. Usually when the owner or a GM or any kind of manager has to come out and defend why they're keeping somebody, that's not a good sign. So the fact that he had to come out and read Andrew Berry's resume right off the top tells me, yes, Andrew has done some good things over the last year. Let's not get that twisted. But that's not a good sign for the future, that they have to knock this draft out of the park. They have to have another good free agency cycle. They have to figure out a way to get some cap room because Deshaun Watson's cap hit next year, $80 million. That's going to be really tough to negotiate around. But that's something to watch going forward is Andrew Berry. He might not be as on solid ground as we think because, the owner just had to come out and read his resume.
Yeah, interesting point there. And again, we don't know who the head coach will be, and we still don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So there you go. We have some time to figure it out. Chris Rankel, great job live in Berea this morning as Kevin Stefanski is out as the Browns head coach. It was a difficult decision for Jimmy Haslam, as he said, but the bottom line, they didn't win enough. So hopefully they can change that course. We'll have much more coverage of today's developments with more analysis. That's coming up at noon. And then, of course, all day long on Channel 3. And don't forget the point after later on. You know that they'll really dive into it with the point after later on today. All right, I'm Dave Chudowski live with you, and I'll leave you with this, Browns fans. There's always next year.